The woman at the well. Have you ever felt like you had to hide parts of your life just to be accepted? Like if people really knew your story, your past, your mistakes, would they look at you differently? Maybe you've smiled on the outside, but deep down, you've carried a quiet weight, a kind of emptiness you can't fully explain. If that sounds familiar, then this story is for you. It comes from the Gospel of John, chapter 4. And at first, it feels like a simple moment. But the deeper you go, the more you realize it's not just a story, it's a mirror. It's about a woman. And in many ways, it's about us. It's the middle of the day. The sun is blazing, and the ground feels like it's holding on to every bit of heat. Most people have already finished their chores. The well outside the village is usually busy in the cool hours of the morning, but now it's quiet, empty, except for one person. A woman slowly walks toward it, carrying a water jar. She's alone, not by accident, but by choice, because being alone hurts less than being judged. You see, this woman has a past. People talk about her. They whisper when she walks by. Even in her own community, she doesn't quite belong. So she avoids the crowd. She avoids the stares. She avoids the reminders of everything she's been through, and maybe everything she regrets. She comes to the well at noon, not because it's convenient, but because it's safe. Or at least she thinks it is. But when she arrives, something is different. There's someone sitting there. A man. He looks tired, like he's been traveling for a long time. Dust clings to his clothes. He's resting by the well, quietly. She wasn't expecting anyone. And then he speaks. "Will you give me a drink?" Simple words, but they carry something deeper. She pauses. This doesn't make sense, because at that moment there are barriers between them that seem impossible to cross. He's a Jew. She's a Samaritan. Their people don't associate with each other. There's history there. Conflict, division, tension. And beyond that, she's a woman with a reputation. So she looks at him, confused, maybe even a little guarded. "Why are you asking me for a drink?" It's not just a question, it's a reflection of her reality. Why me? Why would you talk to someone like me? Have you ever asked that question? Why would God care about someone like me? But instead of explaining himself, Jesus answers in a way that shifts everything. If you knew the gift God has for you and who you are speaking to, you would ask me, and I would give you living water. Living water. The phrase catches her attention, but she doesn't understand yet. She looks at the well. It's deep. There's no rope in his hands. No bucket. So she says, "You don't even have anything to draw water with. And this well is deep. Where are you going to get this living water?" She's thinking practically, logically. But Jesus is speaking spiritually. He's not talking about the water in the well. He's talking about the thirst in her soul. And then he says something that reaches beyond her moment and into every human heart. "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks the water I give will never thirst again." Never thirst again. Think about that. Not temporarily satisfied, not briefly distracted, but deeply, fully, completely filled. Let me ask you something honestly. How many times have you tried to fill that emptiness in your life, only to find yourself right back where you started? You chased something you thought would finally make you feel complete. A relationship, a dream, a goal, recognition, and maybe for a moment it worked. But then the feeling faded, and the emptiness came back, because everything we try to use to fill our souls without God eventually runs out. But Jesus is offering something different, something lasting, something real. And still, she doesn't fully understand. So she says, "Sir, give me this water, so I won't be thirsty anymore, and I won't have to keep coming here. She's still thinking about convenience, about avoiding the well, about escaping her routine. But Jesus is about to take her somewhere deeper. He looks at her and says, "Go, call your husband." And suddenly, the conversation changes. She hesitates. You can almost feel it. And then she answers quietly, "I don't have a husband." And Jesus says, "You're right. You've had 5 husbands, and the man you're with now is not your husband." And just like that, everything is exposed. Her past, her choices, her pain, the very things she tried to leave behind when she came to the well alone. Now they're right in front of her, and in front of him. Can you imagine how that felt? To be fully seen with no way to hide? Most of us spend our lives trying to avoid that moment. We hide behind distractions. We bury things. We pretend we're okay, because we're afraid that if the truth comes out, we'll be rejected. But here's what makes this moment so powerful. Jesus doesn't reject her. He doesn't shame her. He doesn't turn away. He stays. And not only does he stay, he continues the conversation with kindness, with truth, with purpose. Because he didn't reveal her past to hurt her, he revealed it to heal her. Let that sink in. The things you're most ashamed of, God already knows. And he's not walking away. In fact, that's exactly where he meets you. Now the woman realizes this is not just a normal man. She says, "Sir, I see that you're a prophet." And suddenly, the conversation shifts again. They begin talking about worship, about where to worship, about what really matters. And Jesus says something that echoes far beyond that moment. The time is coming, and is now here, when true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. And the Father is seeking such people. God is seeking, not perfect people, not flawless lives, but real hearts, honest hearts. People who are willing to come as they are, not as they pretend to be. And then, something incredible happens. Jesus reveals his identity. He tells her that he is the Messiah, the one they've been waiting for. And think about this. Of all the people he could have told first, he chose her, a woman who felt unworthy, an outcast, someone society had overlooked. Why? Because God doesn't choose people the way the world does. He doesn't look for perfection. He looks for openness. He looks for willingness. He looks for hearts that are ready to receive. And in that moment, her life changes. Not gradually, not slightly, completely. She leaves her water jar behind, the very reason she came to the well. Because suddenly, it doesn't matter anymore. What she found was greater than what she came for. And she runs back to the village. The same place she used to avoid, the same people she used to hide from. Now she's running toward them. And she says, "Come see a man who told me everything I've ever done. Could this be the Messiah?" Do you see what happened? The thing she was ashamed of became the reason she spoke. Her past became part of her purpose, and because of her story, others believed. So let me ask you something. What if your story isn't something to hide, but something God wants to use? What if the parts of your life you're most embarrassed about are the very places where His grace can shine the brightest? Because here's the truth. Jesus didn't go to that well by accident. He went there for her. And in a deeper way, He goes to where you are too. Not when you have everything together, but right in the middle of your reality, your questions, your struggles, your doubts. And He asks something simple, yet powerful. Will you give me a drink? In other words, will you give me your heart? Will you give me your honesty? Will you give me your brokenness? Because He's not asking to take something from you. He's asking to exchange something with you. You give Him what is limited. He gives you what is limitless. You give Him your emptiness. He gives you fullness. You give Him your shame. He gives you freedom. You give Him your past. He gives you a future. And here's the beauty of it all. You don't have to clean yourself up first. You don't have to fix everything before you come to Him. You just have to come as you are, because the same Jesus who sat at that well is still reaching out today, still speaking, still inviting, still offering living water. So the question is, what are you holding on to? What are you afraid to let go of? What have you been carrying that's been weighing you down? Because maybe, just maybe, this is your moment to stop hiding, to stop running, to stop pretending, and to finally say, "Here, take it." And when you do, you'll realize something beautiful. You didn't lose anything. You gained everything. And just like that woman at the well, your story will never be the same again. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.